A very warm welcome to the broadcast of Your Next Move Grand Chess Tour here in Leuven, Belgium. This is Grandmaster Jan Gustafsson. I'm International Master Anna Rudolph. We are about to begin day 3 here in the town hall. 2 days of Blitz are coming. 2 days of Rapid have finished already. How do you think the players are who will win the overall standings, Jan?
Well, Magnus Carlsen is the favorite. He's had a big comeback on the second day of Rapid, scoring 4 out of 4. Now we have 18 rounds of Blitz ahead, where there's only 1 point at stake per game. I believe the players are looking forward to it. They've talked about how tough playing the Rapid games is. Blitz, they think, is a little lighter, and 9 Blitz games per day. They're gonna enjoy themselves.
So we are about to see the players arriving at their boards. This is the beautiful town hall of Leuven, as we mentioned already, a 15th century building, 3-story building. We are here on the first floor and the players are on the second floor. This is Fabiano Caruana heading towards his board, and we also see world champion Magnus Carlsen arriving at the town hall.
Fashionably late again. He tends to arrive 5 minutes late, but it looks like he hasn't missed his call time yet. Anish Giri is entering the stage, and Magnus Carlsen will be in time for the start of his game against Aronian.
Yeah.
So even if you're a world champion, getting timeouts in Blitz is a little hard, so he's going to make it.
It's lucky when you're the number 1 and you have to wait for the other 9 players to go to their board.
Veselin Topalov approaching the stage, not known as a Blitz specialist, but had a very decent outing in the Paris leg of the Grand Chess Tour in Blitz, where he increased his Blitz rating by like 80 points. Even though he said with the Blitz rating he came in with, it was hard to not improve. Vishy Anand.
The former world champion who was leading after the first day of Rapid here in Leuven, but yesterday didn't have his best day. He lost 2 games, and now he is back on the 3rd place, I believe. Shared third with Aronian.
Yeah, currently the closest pursuer of Magnus Carlsen, the leader, is Wesley So. The American played a very solid Rapid event, I believe won 2 games, drew 7 games. There we see him on stage against Vladimir Kramnik. Sporting a t-shirt, in general the players like to be comfortable. For the Blitz you're not going to see a lot of guys wearing jackets, but Kramnik is old school, he's wearing a long sleeve shirt.
That's
We'll
true.
see if it affects him.
And Nakamura also wearing, isn't his lucky t-shirt this one, the purple that he's wearing right now?
I don't know, but he's taking off his jacket. And so will his opponent, Monsieur MVL.
Wearing a long sleeve shirt, so that is less comfortable for Blitz, but Maxime believes that he can be fast enough even wearing a long sleeve shirt.
The players don't have to be that fast. The time control is 5 minutes plus 2 seconds, which for Blitz is on the slower end of things. The plus 2 seconds means that after every move you get a 2 seconds bonus added to your clock, so it's very hard to win on time, which is a pity. Because how are you going to win a Blitz game if you can't flag anybody? These new rules, like, I like the old 5-0.
You don't like the increment. You prefer 5 minutes and nothing,
drama.
or 3 and nothing? What's your favorite time control?
No, 5 and nothing is fine for over-the-board play, but I enjoy if a guy has like queen and he has to checkmate the opponent in 8 seconds remaining on the clock. But of course they change the control to avoid such situations, so if you get a totally winning positions, you will be able to win. There we can see the clock 5-0-2.
We see that we have once again some guests who have made the first move, and Magnus Carlsen has taken it back because he is not about to begin with knight f3.
It's a good move though.
Yeah, when I played the European, it was the president of the European Chess Union starting the round, and for Stefanova, Zurab Asmai-Parashvili suggested that he would go 1g4, which I don't know why, but she thought maybe was not the best choice.
Yeah, the games are beginning. We're going to focus, because it's hard to keep track of all the games in Blitz, on the encounter between the leader Magnus Carlsen and Aronian, the world's number 4 player, former world Blitz champion. So let's zoom in on that and enjoy another Gioco Piano. His opening is becoming more and more fashionable. Magnus won a very, very nice game, masterpiece, against Vishy Anand in his yesterday.
Yesterday he won all his games. That is really impressive because the first day of Rapid here in Leuven did not go well for him.
Yeah, Magnus sees no reason to change. It's always interesting to see the move order in these early stages. Aronian starts with castles here, not following Vishy's footsteps, who played d6, a6, bishop a7. Drawback of castles is after, I'm guessing he's going to go c3, d6. You can get pinned, and some guys are very afraid of this pin, some are less. So we're going to see what Magnus decides on. Is he really thinking here?
Seems like, but I'm sure that he has prepared something. He is just recalling everything that he analyzed with his team. We know that his second, Peter Heine, is here with him, supporting him and also helping him to chill in the evenings.
He's played c3, and Levon shows one advantage of the early castles, which is that you don't have to go for d6, but you can push in the center with d7, d5. We've seen him employ this.
He really likes
Paris
pushing d5 immediately in the Spanish and in the Ruy Lopez. As soon as he can play d5, he goes for it.
Yeah, there's a lot of theory connected to this. The drawback is that the e5 pawn is a little weak now, and white has multiple ways to try to exploit that. There's a direct b4 followed by b5 push, but most guys prefer starting with rook e1 or knight bd2 here.
Knight bd2 is on the
has gone
board
for knight
already.
bd2.
Before he can play later on, as you mentioned, it can transpose to those positions, or he will simply go for knight e4, rook e1. All those moves are very normal.
Yeah, b4 got a little harder because now the c3 pawn is under attack. Knight d2 often has the idea to put the knight on e4 and is also preparing for a potential pin with bishop g4. Then we might still see bishop g4, say h3, bishop h5, rook e1. Knight to b6 is one of the theoretical lines here. We'll see what they do.
Bishop d6 that he has played?
Yeah, after knight b6, he started with knight b6, forcing the situation in the center. Carlsen goes bishop b5. He can't go to b3 because d3 is on priest. Bishop b5 threatens to take and take. Therefore, he goes bishop d6. It's also the theory. Levon has played this position even, I believe, even against Magnus himself in Paris, where Magnus managed to build up a bit of an advantage, and probably Aronian has an improvement ready. Now they reach the position I mentioned.
The pin h3, bishop h5 on the board. Is it a position where you would ever go g4, or there is no such case?
No,
I would not go
it's too
now,
weakening unless it wins material. They normally go knight to e4.
And knight g3 too, in case you want to get rid of the pin.
Yeah, and so the theoretical debates start around here. You can think about f5, queen d7, f6. Many different things have been tried. And yeah, when I started this line, I thought black was doing all right, but you have to be extremely precise, and Levon seems to prefer these lines to this slower play with d6, because here it's more about piece play, not so much about maneuvering and pawn structures, which is a big strength of Magnus Carlsen.
Magnus is thinking, which is surprising, because he chose this line, and I'm sure that he expected d5 early.
Maybe no one told him that today is Blitz, not Rapid, because what he's doing, he's down to 2 minutes 35 seconds in a theoretical position, is not something you're really supposed to do in Blitz. They played the exact same line earlier, so he's thinking about where the deviation is going to come from Levon and how he's going to react. But still, a bit irresponsible clock management. And there is a novelty, I believe, the move rook to e8. You often keep this rook on f8 to support f5, but Levon is more concerned with covering the e5 pawn and possibly wants to react to knight g3 with bishop to g6, because now there is no longer an attack on the e5 pawn.
Yeah, seems like Magnus is still sleeping, because he's just playing very slowly, down to 2 minutes, while Levon Aronian has almost not used any of his time.
No, he's following his preparation. Bishop g5 played by Carlsen. Queen d7 looks a little risky because you're losing sight of this square. Even potential bishop f6 could be a problem. Therefore, Aronian plays f6, slightly weakening this diagonal, but increasing support for the e5 pawn. Very logical choice. And Carlsen, having provoked f6, is happy to drop back to e3.
Yeah, he can always go back to f7 with the bishop if there's something going on the a2, g8 diagonal.
But he goes a6, forcing the exchange on c6. Ruining black structure, but he does gain the pair of bishops. His knight has a nice square to come to d5, so I wouldn't be surprised if Carlsen went c4 to stop that from happening.
What was that move he played? Couldn't see the camera. Knight g3.
Knight g3, forcing this bishop to stop pinning the knight on f3. I don't think he's going to take. He's going to drop back to f7. And Carlsen doesn't want to keep the position close with c4 as I thought, but he goes for a quick opening with d4.
Very direct, and if black captures, the knight takes d4 could be the idea. Knight c4 is on the board.
Yeah, I'm surprised how the world champion plays, because d4, yeah, giving up all these light squares looks like it's playing into black's hands. He wants to ruin the structure with d5. But here, first of all, knight takes e5, I believe, is perfectly fine. Secondly, you could very well think about grabbing the two bishops, living with all these weaknesses. d5 is on the board. I'm expecting knight takes e5 when I believe black has, at the very least, equalized with his active pair of bishops. They more than compensate the broken pawn structure. But Aronian's going to think for a bit here, because there are alternatives. Fe5, knight takes e3. Some moves come to mind, but this is the easiest, and should.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like
solve all
black
his
is in
problems.
any trouble. We see those doubled pawns on the c file, of course, isolated doubled pawns. They are not the best, but the pair of bishops compensate for it, and this is a position that's about to be open.
He's played bishop takes e5, keeping the knight on c4, targeting the b2 pawn. This bishop is going to get exchanged instantly, so at least you get rid of the two bishops. I'm slightly surprised by that choice. Rook takes e5, he's banking on his activity with the threats of knight b2 and knight e3 to neutralize or to compensate for his weakened pawn structure.
Yeah, also we will see opposite colored bishops in case they exchange the knights, which could lead to a drawish position. But yeah, I'm also surprised that he gave up the pair of bishops.
Carlsen's probably going to take a long, hard look at a move like bishop d4 here, sacrificing the b2 pawn, but trying to make something happen on the king side. I'm not sure if there is anything.
Does
In
he have
general-
enough pieces for the attack there?
Yeah, in general, with opposite color bishops, pawns aren't as important. You want to create an initiative, and especially this b2 pawn. Since black has double pawns here, it doesn't feel essential. To me, it looks more important to stop black from going knight takes e3, ruining the white pawn structure.
You
Big
could be
decision for
right.
Magnus, and he might regret having spent these 2.5 minutes earlier on in a theoretical position, because he's down to 1 minute, and now it's really time to calculate, which it won't be easy. He's made a move. I can't see what it is. Maybe queen c1, pairing both threats, because
Yeah, I believe it's queen c1, and we see at the same time that there's a huge audience here in the town hall of Leuven following the event. We also have a lot of people here on the first floor, and the rest of the visitors up there where the players are on the second floor.
yeah, Aronian took some risks with this decision to play bishop takes e5 instead of knight takes e5, which, yeah, I'm not sure what bothered him here. This looked very fine. I'm not sure he's worse now, but he has to play actively in order to compensate for his holes in his structure. Else, if white manages to coordinate his pieces, bishop d4 or bishop f4 or b3, forcing the exchange here, he's going to be in trouble. So let's see what Levon does. He goes queen e8, increasing the pressure on the e3 bishop.
And now the exchange on e3 is taking the everything exchanged on e3, exchange of queens as well, f takes e3. So
He's
what
achieved
is
his
this
goal of
endgame?
ruining the white pawn structure a little bit, and I believe he's first to the d file. He can go rook d8 here, occupying this file,
yes,
which
that's
should
important.
solve all his problems. So I don't know, maybe Magnus didn't have anything better than b3, or he didn't want to give the b2 pawn. I believe now black has to be fine. Knight
Yeah.
e4, rook d3, c4 on the board. Carlsen has to sacrifice a pawn. He wants to put his knight on his best square on c5. Thinks this pawn is weak anyway. Let's say takes knight c5, a5, and he can activate with rook d1, rook d7, or rook d8 coming. Probably enough compensation for the pawn. But let's see if the world champion can work his magic and pose problems here for black, which I think is unlikely. Rook e2, black should have enough activity. a5 on the board, rook d1 on the board. Could take a time out here to secure the king, king f8 or g5. Even though rook d8 is not a threat yet, it's annoying to have to keep in mind. Move I said, for example, rook e2, you could just go king f1.
And you can never take the pawn because of the back rank.
So,
I think he would go g5, I feel like.
yeah, some decisions to be made here, g5, h5, king f8, all come to mind. Looks like Carlsen does have enough play, at the very least, for his pawn. He's also put his pawns on light squares, as you read in textbooks, to cripple the black bishop, which finds it very hard to play a useful role in this endgame. And if the clock here is correct, Levon Aronian has caught up and is now behind. He's been thinking a lot about this position, down to
Bishop g6 he played instead of moving the king, or g5, so he doesn't care. Well, he can go to f7 after bishop g6, of course, with the king, so there's no back rank problem anymore.
yeah, he's decided number one priority is to activate this bishop. If white penetrates with the rook, whatever, check king f7, rook c8. He can still defend with rook e7, and then he's going to have counterplay with bishop b1, chipping away at the white pawn structure.
Knight b7 going
Knight
for
b7,
the
what kind
pawn,
of move is
but that's protected already. Maybe he wants, what does he want?
King f2, yeah, Magnus didn't want to allow any rook e2 shenanigans, force the rook backwards, but the rook can
Knight
kick
b7.
this knight off its square.
Maybe he wants to go rook d8, rook a8. Isn't that too slow?
Yeah, most likely he's going after the a5 pawn. And Levon has some decisions again. a4, I'd be even concerned about b takes a4, which looks ugly, but this pawn can be very fast.
Yeah, you cannot
supported by
stop
knight
that
on b7.
pawn.
So he's played bishop e4.
What did Magnus play?
Magnus played g4, stopping potential counterplay with rook to g5 yet again. But after g4, h5, it looks like he's going to have his hands full, keeping his his king side. Therefore, I believe Aronian's doing fine here if he can manage the clock situation, because now there will be counterplay. Rook g5, if this rook goes too far, bishop b1 is there. So it doesn't feel like Magnus Carlsen is in the driver's seat here.
Yeah, this is still a pawn down for white. Of course, there's a lot of counterplay for Magnus Carlsen. Now he's attacking the a5 pawn. If he can get the pawn, then he will have this dangerous a pass pawn. Still on a2, but it will be a pass pawn that is very far from the rest of the black pieces.
Magnus looks a little rattled. Maybe he missed something. Maybe this h5 upset him. He sees he can't just keep everything coordinated. He's shaking his head a little bit. Rook d8, king h7, and they've made a couple more moves. Rook to a8, c5. Maybe that's what he missed.
Yeah,
that's
the move he missed. The spin, he has to go rook a7. His knight will be exchanged. So this is just a rook endgame where black is still a pawn up.
Black is fine, but I don't think he has enough to win it. This should end peacefully. He has to give the c7 pawn back, king h6, king f3. Yeah, this is just equal.
3 against 3. This is going to lead to a draw between Magnus Carlsen and Levon Aronian.
Good game by Levon. Looks like he got into a bit of trouble there at some point with his a-pawn, but he managed to find enough activity.
Yeah, a lot of moves being played, and the draw is agreed. So we will jump to another game if they haven't finished all. Topalov Anand seems to be a very interesting position. As far as I can see, Topalov is better. He has a piece up for some pawns. We have seen that Vichy is capable of saving positions with a piece down, but this just seems to be quite desperate. Okay, there's only one pawn on the board. How is the corner? No, the corner is fine. So this is just, well, still some technical difficulties. Maybe it's more than technical difficulties?
I'm not sure, but it looks like a draw to me. King g3, it's going to be very hard to
keep the h-pawn. As soon as black can capture the h-pawn,
well, this is clever. This might be a Zugzwang.
Yeah, he doesn't. Bishop e7 was very clever, cutting the black king.
Vichy is frustrated, has to retreat, and now it should be tough, even though, yeah.
Yeah, but if he captures the pawn, then there's a3, and you can give up the a-pawn for the h-pawn.
Oh man, evaluating endgames in a blitz game, my favorite activity, but it does feel like Vichy
king h5. This
has
should be
found a construction that holds.
Yeah, they are repeating moves and they agree to a draw. That means that the first round of the blitz has finished already, and we shall see the results on the other boards as well. What happened?
Hikaru Nakamura won his game. Hikaru Nakamura, well known as one of the best blitz players in the world, the winner of Paris, didn't have a stellar rapid event, but he's gonna be looking to make a comeback. Defeated MVL, another world-class blitz player, with black winning the queen there in the end. Vladimir Kramnik defeated Wesley So. Wesley So's very first loss in this event. We've seen that same movie in Paris. He was doing very well in rapid, but struggled in the blitz. Let's see if that trend continues. And Anish Giri lost to his friend and rival Fabiano Caruana. The two, have a lot of history, used to have the same coach, and Fabiano is trying to dispel the notion that he's unable to move the pieces around with little time, and has improved his blitz play quite a bit.
But this was just the first round. There are 17 more blitz games to come today and tomorrow here in Leuven. I will at some point like to talk to our dear audience here. I don't know if we have time for it, because according to the schedule, the next round begins in a minute, but I believe they might leave a few more minutes for the players to have a rest, but we will begin very shortly with the second round of the blitz.
Yeah, let's have a look at the standings. I believe Magnus Carlsen was quite happy with how things played out, even though he didn't win his game. His closest pursuer, Wesley So, lost his game, therefore Magnus increases his lead to 1.5 points. In case you're confused by the counting, there were 2 points at stake for every win in the rapid leg, but now you only get 1 point per game should you win it in the blitz. So the rapid and blitz are weighed equally in the standings, even though there's twice the amount of blitz games, 9 today, 9 tomorrow.
Exactly. Which game shall we focus on round 2?
Let's see what we get.
There we have the pairings for round 2 of the Blitz. Anand versus Giri, So against Caruana, Nakamura versus Kramnik, Aronian Bashir and Topalov Carlsen.
I'd suggest Nakamura versus Kramnik. Nakamura, one of the best Blitz players. Kramnik also a deceptively strong Blitz player. He's always very high rated in Blitz, finished third in the World Blitz Championships last year, but did have a bit of a meltdown in Paris where he lost like 6 or 7 in a row on the second day, blundered every piece known to man, rooks, bishops, you name them. But that was the second day, today is the first day. Let's see how he holds up. He can certainly play Blitz.
You think we can expect a meltdown for tomorrow for Vladimir Kramnik, or that will never happen again?
I'm not sure, but the schedule is very taxing. The players have talked about it, how tough it is to play all these rapid games and all these Blitz games in just 4 days. And especially for the older guys like Vladimir Kramnik, maybe he doesn't spend all his free time playing Blitz games. Of course, fatigue will be a factor, especially in going into the last day.
Yeah, they said it's easier for them to play a classical game that might last 5-6 hours. And even here, if it's 5-6 hours of rapid or blitz, it's tougher because they are new games. Yesterday, they had 4 rapid games, the day before 5 rapid games, and today 9 blitz games. So they are all different games, all different positions, and they have to recover very quickly between the rounds.
Yeah, Vladimir Kramnik has done his fair share of blunders in the rapid part of the event already. He blundered 2 pieces more or less in one move. So he's not above it, but still, I believe, especially against Hikaru, who's famous for his blitz prowess, these old guys, they like to make a statement that they can also play it, even though they might not have the same internet upbringing and might be less used to it. So I'm looking forward to a sharp game.
Exactly. Nakamura is famously known for being the best bullet player in the world. So bullet meaning 1-minute games, but this is 5 minutes plus 2 seconds increments on each move. So somewhat slower, maybe even too slow for Nakamura.
We'll find out. It looks like they're giving the players a minute. We're going to go on a very brief break to get readjusted, and we'll be back with you for round number 2 in a couple minutes.